Días, buenas tardes, buenas noches, depende de qué parte del mundo nos estén visitando. ¿Cómo están? Yo soy Daniel Marcos y el día de hoy en esta presentación vamos a platicar de cómo ayudar a hacer una venta de tu empresa, una salida extraordinaria. Y déjenme les explico por qué esto es tan importante para mí. He visto a muchos emprendedores, muchos empresarios, empresarias que dedican muchos años de su vida a poder crecer una empresa, mucho sudor, inversión, riesgo y demás. Y cuando dicen es momento de venderla, se la venden al primero que les da un peso. Digo, oye, no, espérame. Todo esto que trabajaste, digamos, durante tu vida, todo el esfuerzo, inversión, tiempo y demás, el momento donde puedes maximizar el retorno de todo lo trabajado es cuando haces una venta exitosa o extraordinaria. Entonces, en esta presentación vamos a platicar de cómo puedes llegar a hacer esa venta extraordinaria de todo el trabajo que has hecho. Y de hecho, déjame te platico una historia. Yo hice mi MBA en Babson College, supuestamente una de las mejores empresas para emprendedores del mundo. Y ahí tomé una clase con un profesor que era brillante, ya falleció por tristeza, pero el señor era el que hablaba de venture, de cómo levantar dinero de capital, de inversionistas y demás. Y cuando hablas de la parte de la venta, le llamaba harvesting, es como levantar tu cosecha. Y le digo, oye, ¿por qué? Me dice, Daniel, tu emprendimiento es como eso, vas cosechando la tierra y le das agua y le das fertilizante y la vas dando bien, y cuando recoges todas tus ganancias, es cuando la vendes. Sí le vas sacando un poquito de rendimiento año con año, de rentabilidad del negocio y tal, pero cuando sacas tu cheque grande donde realmente sacas tus ganancias, es cuando levantas la cosecha. Imagínate tu empresa, es esto, ¿no? El momento que vas a cosechar, digamos, todo el trabajo y el esfuerzo que le has puesto. Y la gente me dice, Daniel, pero yo no quiero vender mi empresa, yo se la quiero dar a mis hijos o no tengo interés de venderla. Digo, a ver, algún día, no sé cuándo, vas a salir de tu empresa. Esta empresa va a dejar de ser tuya. Se la puedes heredar a tus hijos, se la puedes entregar a tus empleados, la puedes donar, que en Estados Unidos me ha tocado ver gente que no tiene familia y la dona a una institución o a alguien así, o la vas a vender o la vas a cerrar, pero en algún día vas a salir de tu empresa. Entonces, ¿cómo hacemos que el día que salgas de la empresa, sea por cualquier razón, tengas una salida extraordinaria? Y obviamente, entre más valga tu empresa, entre más preparada esté para ser vendida, vas a poder entregar más valor el día de tu salida. Si es tu primera presentación con el Growth Institute, nosotros lo que hacemos es ayudar a líderes empresariales de empresas pequeñas y medianas a poder escalar tu impacto y reducir el drama. Nosotros hemos hablado con muchos líderes por más de 15 años. Le digo, oye, ¿qué te hace feliz? Me dice, oye, quiero generar más empleo en mi comunidad. Quiero ganar más dinero. Quiero vender más porque quiero servir a más clientes. Yo ayudo mucho a mi comunidad. Los productos y servicios que yo doy ayudan mucho a la gente y quiero tener un impacto mayor en el mundo. Perfecto. Dicen, pero también quiero reducir el drama. Esto de ser empresario, emprendedor o emprendedora tiene mucho estrés y mucho drama y problemas de flujos de efectivo. ¿Cómo le hago para reducir el drama? Nuestro sueño es ayudar a 10 millones de ustedes a poder hacer esto. Llevamos 10 años en operación, hemos servido a empresas en más de 70 países del mundo y hemos servido a más de 55,000 ejecutivos de 11,000 compañías diferentes. Y lo que hacemos es nos asociamos con muchos de los mejores autores de libros del mundo y traemos sus metodologías, su aprendizaje, su entrenamiento a un precio y formato que ha sentido para empresas pequeñas y medianas a nivel mundial. Y todo lo que enseñamos por política, tenemos que vivirlo internamente. Si nosotros no lo hemos usado internamente y no lo hemos vivido, no lo podemos enseñar, recomendar. En este caso, vamos a platicar de un proceso que ya hemos seguido con varias de nuestras empresas. Todos los años ayudamos a nuestros clientes a vender sus empresas, ya cuando las crecen o cuando quieren salir de la empresa, y hemos vivido este proceso con muchas empresas. Te vamos a ayudar en cómo preparar tu empresa y llevarla correctamente a una salida exitosa. Y por cierto, esta lámina para mí es muy importante. Primero, el equipo. Todas las fotografías que ven atrás es las fotografías de algunos de mis miembros de mi equipo. Y muy agradecido porque sin el equipo no hubiéramos hecho lo que hemos logrado. Entonces, es el equipo que hace que las cosas sucedan. Y luego lo que está en medio, en Estados Unidos hay una lista de las 5,000 empresas que más rápido crecen en el mundo. Hemos estado en esta lista, pero las 5,000 empresas que más rápido crecen en Estados Unidos todos los años, solo para que te des una idea, Estados Unidos tiene 32 millones de empresas el día de hoy y nosotros hemos estado en la lista de los 5,000 que más rápido crecen durante 4 años consecutivos, los últimos 4 años. Entonces, todo lo que nosotros implementamos o enseñamos, lo implementamos literalmente, lo usamos y tenemos crecimientos muy fuertes o muy grandes en el mercado más competitivo del mundo, Estados Unidos. Esto soy yo, mi nombre es Daniel Marcos, llevo siendo emprendedor y director de empresas durante 24 años. He tenido empresas con crecimientos muy grandes, hasta 1,200 empleados, y he tenido empresas con unos dolores muy fuertes, como lo pueden ver aquí, Única Mortgage. Yo he tenido una empresa hipotecaria, subprime, cuando fue el 2008 en Estados Unidos, y fue una caída y un cierre muy, muy doloroso. Entonces, como tú, me he levantado durante 24 años, todos los días, a ver cómo doy más valor, cómo genero mayor valor para mis clientes, cómo contrato mejores empleados, cómo los entreno y cómo crezco mi negocio. Y estas son algunas de las empresas con las que he estado asociado en estos 24 años. Entonces, ¿de qué se trata esto? ¿Cómo maximizar este valor? Como lo platicamos, algún día va a salir de tu empresa, sea por cualquier razón, y en ese momento, ¿cómo te ayudamos a poder maximizar esos frutos o todos los años de trabajo y esfuerzo que hiciste? Y si lees un poco en internet, hay muchos estudios de por qué alguien vende una empresa o por qué alguien sale de una empresa. Y normalmente es porque hubo un cambio de vida en el fundador o fundadora o la cabeza de la empresa. Alguna enfermedad, alguna muerte en la familia, algún cambio de interés. Y mucha gente me dice, Daniel, hago mucho dinero, llevo 120 años, ya no lo quiero hacer. Ya me la quiero quitar de encima porque ya estoy cansado. Y sí, he ido haciendo dinero, me caerá muy bien un cheque, ya no la necesito, pero la realidad es que ya estoy cansado, quiero hacer algo diferente. Y en el momento que hay un cambio de vida, en tu estilo de vida, lo que sea, en ese momento, mucha gente dice, ya no me importa cuánto me paguen con tal de quitármela de encima. Y ahí, obviamente, tiene una mala venta de la empresa. ¿Cómo estar preparado para que tu empresa en cualquier momento, si tienes algún cambio de estilo de vida, un cambio en tu situación de tu vida o de algún familiar, lo que sea, tu empresa esté muy bien y esté maximizando su evaluación para que la puedas vender e ir en cualquier momento a mercado a poder maximizar su valor? Entonces, en este entrenamiento me comprometo a 3 cosas contigo. Primero, darte las claves para saber de tomar la decisión de vender o no vender o realmente cuándo vender. Pero si nosotros una política, tu empresa tiene que estar lista para ser vendida siempre. Y el momento que cambie alguna cosa en tu vida, puedes llevarla al mercado y tratar de maximizar el valor de salida. Segundo, ¿cómo evaluar la empresa para tener una salida extraordinaria o una salida exitosa buena? Y luego, ¿cómo preparar la empresa para que sea vendible en todo momento? Entonces, vamos a platicar de estas 3 cosas. Entonces, primero déjame empezar en cómo evaluar tu empresa. Hay 3 formas de evaluar cada empresa. La primera, que normalmente es la que te pagan menos, es lo que le llaman evaluación basada en activos de la empresa. Oye, tengo unos edificios, unas máquinas y tal, y estás vendiendo tus activos. Oye, mis activos valen tanto un valor contable o tanto un valor de liquidación y voy a vender mis activos. Normalmente esa es la venta más baja en valuación porque solo te están pagando los activos, no te están pagando una empresa. La segunda evaluación es lo que le llaman la evaluación basada en múltiplos de flujo de efectivo o múltiplos de EBITDA. ¿Qué quiere decir eso? Oye, $1 o un peso tiene un valor diferente de acuerdo al tiempo. Como ejemplo, en este primer caso que vemos aquí, es una empresa que genera, estamos inventando, $1,000 anuales de ganancia. Entonces, te digo, oye, te voy a pagar las ganancias de los siguientes 5 años, pero me los voy a traer al día de hoy a un precio de descuento de 25% anual, ¿no? ¿Por qué? Porque tiene un riesgo la empresa, yo la voy a operar, en vez de pagarte el total del valor, te voy a pagar eso con un valor de descuento del 25%. Entonces, en vez de que valga $5,000 los 5 años de flujo, vale 2,500. Entonces, te descuentan el valor del flujo traído al valor del día de hoy. Esta empresa, ven como tiene evaluación o proyecciones diferentes, igual lo descuentan, y esto es lo que vale el dinero del descuento, y por lo tanto vale $3,500 o peso, lo que tú quieras. Pero lo que hace una empresa cuando te compra en base a unos múltiplos de EBITDA o discounted cash flow, te dice, voy a traer al día de hoy algunos ciertos flujos, siguientes 5 o 8 años, y lo que valga eso te lo voy a pagar. Y eso se va modificando de acuerdo a más o menos tu industria, en qué industria estás en manufactura, distribución, en cosas aéreas, te fijas, tienen mayores ventas en promedio, digo, mayor evaluación, y también qué tan grande es tu empresa. En tu empresa es más grande, tiene menos riesgo, es más dominante de mercado y por lo tanto te pagan más múltiplos. Entonces, como ejemplo, una empresa manufactura. Una empresa manufactura, si vende entre 10 y 25 millones de dólares al año, te la evalúan más o menos en 5.9 veces en el historial. Oye, pero si factura más de 100 millones de dólares, pues a lo mejor te la evalúan en 7.9 veces. Vamos a redondear. Oye, esta empresa gana $1.000.000 de ganancia. Si facturas, digamos, 15 millones y ganas uno, pues te van a pagar 6 millones de dólares por la empresa. Oye, pero ¿qué pasa si facturo más de 100? Pues te van a pagar 8 millones por cada millón de ganancia que tengas. Y así va cambiando de acuerdo a cuánto vendes y en la industria que estás. Y luego también va impactándose de acuerdo al año. Hay años que el mercado es muy alto, como el mercado accionario o el mercado de bienes raíces, tiene altas y bajas, y obviamente si sales a vender en un año de crisis, pues las valuaciones van a ser más bajas. Y sales en un año que va hacia arriba, o es un año, digamos, donde hay mucho dinero en el mercado, normalmente te pagan una mayor valuación. Como ejemplo, el año pasado, estoy ahorita grabando esto en el año 2022, el año 2021 fue el año más alto que he visto de valuaciones en muchos años. Yo nunca había visto las valuaciones que vi en 2021 desde el año 2000, la burbuja del Internet. Entonces, el mercado en el 2000 tuvo una gran valuación y luego cayó, tuvo altas y bajas y luego volvió a tener un pico muy, muy alto en 2021. Entonces, este mercado, digamos, tardó 21 años en volver a llegar a los máximos históricos donde estaba. Pero más o menos te puedes dar una idea, en base a esta gráfica, de cómo va cambiando las valuaciones de acuerdo a los años y de acuerdo a cómo está la economía general mundial. Y la tercera, que es la que más me gusta y es donde me enfoco con todos mis clientes, es lo que llamamos una venta estratégica. Y ahorita te voy a platicar algún par de historias, pero una venta estratégica no nada más vale cuánto generas o ves evita, digamos, de acuerdo a tu industria o demás. Importa también qué sector económico estás, el dominio que tenés la empresa, niveles de competitividad, calidad del producto, muchas más cosas. Y te platico dos historias para que podamos estar más alineados tú y yo. Y es lo que llamamos un Rembrandt en el ático. Pero te platico una historia. Imagínate que tú y yo vamos a ir a comprar una casa, hay una casa en el mercado, y yo voy y veo la casa y digo, bueno, esta casa está bonita, sí me gusta, platico con mi agente de bienes raíces, me dice el agente de bienes raíces, esta casa vale $1.000.000 en el mercado, pero si la quieres tienes que ofrecer un poquito más alto. Entonces digo, ¿y sabes qué? Yo quiero ofrecer 1.050.000, porque la casa vale 1.000.000, me voy a ir $50.000 arriba. ¿Por qué? Porque quiero tener mayor probabilidad de poderme llevar a la casa, porque la casa me gusta mucho. Perfecto. Te ofrezco 1.050.000. Y tú a la hora vas a ver la casa y vas caminando por la casa y de repente pasas y ves una entrada al ático. Oye, mira, hay un ático arriba. ¿Puedo subir? Y te dicen, sí, sí, puedes subir. Y tú subes al ático y ves que en el ático hay un Rembrandt ahí arrumbado en una esquina. Dice, oye, la casa la están vendiendo como está, ¿verdad? Con todos los muebles y los cuadros y todo. Sí, sí, como está la casa, te la vamos a entregar. Y tú dices, oye, espérame, pero pues hay un Rembrandt allá arriba. El Rembrandt vale $4.000.000. Entonces esta casa no vale 1.000.000, vale 1.000.000 por la casa, pero ese Rembrandt vale 4. Entonces, si me la van a vender la casa como está, pues vale $5.000.000, no vale uno. Entonces me dice, oye, yo voy a hacer una oferta, pues a lo mejor de 1.500.000. ¿Por qué? Porque sé que vale 5. Pero yo no vi la evaluación, pero tú sí viste la evaluación porque viste el Rembrandt del ático. Y entonces ofreces 1.500.000, yo ofrezco 1.050.000, obviamente te la van a dar a ti porque tú ofreciste más, pero tú dices, sí, pagué 1.500.000, pero mi evaluación son $5.000.000. Y por lo tanto tuviste una mejora en tu inversión. Eso es un poco el Rembrandt del ático. Nosotros trabajamos con empresas todos los años y vemos muchos Rembrandts en el ático. Entre más puedas entender ese Rembrandt y a quién lo evalúa ese Rembrandt, vas a poder vender tu empresa más. A ver, si a mí no me gusta Rembrandt y no me gustan los cuadros, no me gusta el arte, pues a lo mejor lo veo y no lo reconozco, o lo veo y digo, pues es un cuadro que a mí no me importa, o no lo sé vender, y pues no le doy una evaluación. Pero si tú eres un especialista en arte y a ti te gusta mucho y ves a Rembrandt, te vas a emocionar. Entonces, ¿cómo encontrar un cliente estratégico que le emocione el Rembrandt? Ahora déjame te platico otra historia. Imagínate un iPhone. Aquí tengo mi teléfono. Imagínate yo, Daniel Marcos, invento este teléfono. Es un teléfono padrísimo. Y empiezo a hacer el teléfono, lo empiezo a vender. Y el primer año vendo $10.000.000. El segundo año vendo $20.000.000. El tercer año vendo $50.000.000. Y estoy encantado con mi empresa. Pero tengo una empresa que factura 50 millones de dólares y a lo mejor gana 5 millones de dólares. Y me dice, oye, véndeme tu empresa. ¿En cuánto me la vendes? Digo, oye, pues vendo 50, gano 5, pues si me pagas 15 años de ventas o 10 años de ganancias, digamos 10 años de ganancias o 15 de ganancias, te la vendo. Entonces te la vendo por 75 millones de dólares o 100 millones de dólares. Y tú me dices, ok, te la compro en 100. Y yo digo, wow, estoy emocionado porque la vendí más cara de lo que yo hubiera pensado. Pero imagínate que llega Apple como un comprador estratégico y me dice, Daniel, está muy padre tu teléfono, te lo compro. Y digo, pero si te la voy a vender a Apple, te la voy a vender en 100 o en 150 millones de dólares porque tú tienes mucha lana. Y Apple, ¿qué dice? Sí, pero el día que yo la compre, le voy a poner la marca Apple, lo voy a meter en todas las tiendas de distribución de Apple y a lo mejor voy a vender $1 billón o 2 billones de dólares. ¿Cuánto está dispuesto a pagar Apple? Oye, 150 sería un regalo para Apple. El primer año a lo mejor va a vender 1 o 2 billones de dólares. Entonces, si esta empresa de este teléfono se la vendo a Apple, pues a lo mejor se la puedo vender en 400 o en 500. Porque para Apple, siendo un comprador estratégico, me va a pagar mucho más por mi teléfono o por mi empresa. Pero si yo se la vendo a otro emprendedor que está como yo y no tiene la redistribución, pues a lo mejor dicen, hombre, yo te pago 50, ya 75 está muy cara. Entonces, cuando tú encuentras un cliente estratégico que compra tu empresa, tu probabilidad de evaluación mayor es muy, muy grande. Entonces, nosotros solo trabajamos con emprendedores y empresarios y empresarias que les ayudamos a encontrar cuáles son los Rembrandts del ático, encontrar cuál es el comprador que va a evaluar ese Rembrandt o esa ventaja competitiva y les va a pagar una premisa muy grande por su producto o su empresa. Y ahí es donde puedes tener una salida extraordinaria. Entonces, cuando sales al mercado, si tienes tu Rembrandt bien desarrollado y sabes cómo venderlo y vas a ofrecérselo al cliente estratégico perfecto, tu probabilidad de maximizar tu valuación de tu empresa es muy alta. Entonces, ahorita vamos a platicar de cómo le puedes hacer para hacer eso y cómo te podemos ayudar a encontrar ese estratégico y sobre todo desarrollar ese Rembrandt. Si tú me dices, Daniel, quiero vender en 3 o en 5 años de hoy y te identifico hoy tu Rembrandt, no lo vas a dejar así. Vas a decir, oye, ¿cómo hago más Rembrandts? ¿Cómo lo hago más grande? O esta ventaja que le va a importar a Apple, ¿cómo la desarrollo más para que Apple me quiera pagar más? Si tengo 3 o 5 años para venderla, pues la voy a desarrollar y la voy a crecer. Entonces, es bien importante, cuando estés empezando a pensar vender tu empresa, que encontremos cuáles son sus Rembrandts, que encontremos cuáles son ese comprador estratégico y te ayudemos a desarrollar eso en tu empresa para cuando vayas al mercado tengas una mucho mayor valuación. Y es exactamente lo que vamos a platicar en esta clase en vivo. Entonces vamos a platicar de cómo tener una estrategia de cosecha que pueda maximizar la evaluación o el precio de salida de tu empresa. Y para eso nos asociamos con esta empresa, se llama STS Capital Partners, es un banco de inversión en Estados Unidos y Canadá, pero tienen representantes de operación en todo el mundo, ahorita vamos a conocer un poco más de ellos, y ellos hemos vendido muchas empresas a nuestros clientes, hemos trabajado con ellos ya muchos años, y ha sido una experiencia muy padre, y solo hacen ventas, no hacen compras, porque los típicos bancos de inversión hacen compras y ventas. Es decir, yo no hago compras, yo nada más hago ventas. Y es más, solo hago ventas estratégicas. Si quieres vender por múltiplos financieros, vete con alguien más. Yo no quiero trabajar contigo. Yo solo quiero trabajar con empresas que quieran hacer ventas estratégicas y podamos llevar a hacer una venta estratégica y maximizar el precio de salida. Entonces, ahorita voy a presentarles a un socio de esta firma que se llama STS Capital, que les va a platicar exactamente cómo maximizar el precio de tu empresa de salida y qué tienes que hacer para irla preparando para poderla llevar a este precio. Y hoy estamos con Ron Pullar, él es uno de los managing directors de esta empresa. Ahorita Ron va a entrar a cámara y te va a platicar un poco más del proceso, pero Ron tiene más de 25 años de experiencia en fusiones de adquisiciones de empresas y ha trabajado en empresas privadas de múltiples industrias y las ha llevado a una venta con éxito. Ahorita vas a ver toda la experiencia que tiene, pero siempre enfocado, como dice aquí, en maximizar el valor en la venta estratégica. Han logrado desarrollar una metodología muy bien probada que en muchas industrias son capaces de entender la empresa, entender la estrategia de la empresa y luego ir a mercado para determinar cuál es la industria, el comprador perfecto que puede maximizar el precio, decirle, a ver, ¿cuál es el Apple que cuando compren ese teléfono lo van a poner una marca y lo van a vender en billones de dólares? Vamos a encontrarlos a ese y negociar con ese la venta para que te quieran pagar más. Y obviamente ha llevado empresas de sus clientes hasta por 12 mil millones de dólares en solo 12 meses. Es bien importante lo que hacen ellos. Entonces, Ron, please come. Would love that you join us. Y oigan, vamos a ahorita pasar inglés. Obviamente, Ron no habla español. Vamos a pasar inglés, pero no se preocupen, vamos a empezar a subtitular todo lo que dice Ron en subtítulos en español para que puedan seguir aprendiendo español. Y luego al final regreso yo a platicar un poco más y preguntas y respuestas con Ron. Ron, thank you very much. Super excited to be here with you. Thank you for coming and give us some of your time to help us understand how to do a strategic sale, why it's so important to do a strategic sale, and really how to prepare the company to be ready for a strategic sale.
That's great, Daniel. Thanks so much for having me. I'm super excited as well to speak with you and your clients and really tell the story and help those individuals get a better understanding of why strategic buyers are the right buyers for their businesses. So I think we've got a lot of content to cover. I think you and I are going to have some Q&A after, which will be fun as well. But super excited to speak to the audience today.
So I'm going to remove my camera so everyone's focused on you and learning from you. And when you finish your presentation, I'll be back to have a conversation and Q&A with
you. Sounds great. And could you just share, allow me to share my screen there, Daniel?
Yes, you should be ready to be able to share.
Thanks again, Daniel. I really appreciate it. Ron Pullar out of Denver, Colorado. I'm a managing director with STS Capital. As I had mentioned, I'm super excited to speak with such driven, successful business entrepreneurs. And you've really, kudos to all of you. You've reached the stage to learn more about an exit and the different types of exits. And really, I'll help you today to understand selling to strategic buyers and what the value is of selling to strategic buyers. I truly enjoy being a guide through this process. I've been an entrepreneur myself, as Daniel had mentioned there in my intro, and I've lived in your shoes. I know the emotional constraints and the challenges that you face, but also the exciting opportunity that's sitting in front of you all today. So I'll tell you a little bit more about STS Capital and how we actually take you through the process of really focusing on the strategic buyers. So we are really about making extraordinary exits. That is our goal. And we do that by selling to strategic buyers. We are all entrepreneurs on our side. All of the managing directors at STS Capital have been operators in businesses, have sold companies, have acquired businesses, have raised capital, and been through that entire process. In fact, our CEO, Rob Follows, had his own experience, and that's why he created STS Capital, because of the experience that he felt going through a process not being supported correctly. And we do that as well as we be philanthropic at the same time with our clients through the entire process, especially post-close. So today we work with hundreds of different companies where we focus on the value of their business and what it means to a strategic buyer, not a financial buyer, a private equity buyer, a venture capitalist who buy on what we call the spreadsheet game, based on your revenue, your capita, and EBITDA, some of those things that Daniel shared with us earlier today, but really focusing on what is the value of your business to an individual specific strategic buyer and why they should acquire your business, how quickly they can get a return on the investment of the business, and most importantly, where they can take the business from there. So we truly focus on global relationships with global buyers to introduce your business into their buying interaction through strategic buyers. So as I mentioned, we have 25 managing directors across the globe. So we're a global organization. And the point being there is that we have global buyer relationships that truly maximize the value of your business. We also have over 800 industry experts. So whatever industry you're in, we have a team of people that we can bring to the table to truly find those Rembrandts in the attic that Daniel had mentioned, highlight those in our messaging specific to each strategic buyer. So ultimately, we're positioning your company with the strongest strategic buyers in the world. So when we look at the strategic journey and actually going down a path, there's pillars of business that we really highlight here at STS. As I mentioned, we're expert guides. We've been through what you've been through. Our teams have been through thousands of interactions and processes of representing clients and ultimately selling them to strategics, which is our second pillar there. And we focus on that as I'll speak through this entire presentation. But the value that they offer your company versus a financial buyer is sometimes 4 to 5 times above what the financial buyer will pay. A financial buyer works a little differently, and we'll speak about how they do the math and how they come up with offers for your business. Strategic buyers operate strategically. They have a path that they're trying to attain. And when we talk about the second acronym about STS, that is success to significance. So as I mentioned, we're very philanthropic. We really focus on giving back. And in fact, when our clients close their opportunity and have their great financial windfall, we actually work with them to set up charitable events where they can give back to their community. So we help with the structure of setting that up, but also we co-invest with our clients to help get that started so that they can give something back and really have that significance post the success that they achieve. So when we work through the strategic analysis, as we're looking at the difference between a financial investor versus a strategic investor, the value of your company and the competitive advantages that you have really to strategic buyers is why they want to buy your company. They really want to put not just the investment of acquiring your company from a dollar and a structural standpoint, but really around what can they do to really grow that line of business, add value to their customers, and really broaden their service or product set that they have to go to market with. The other side of also selling to strategics versus a financial buyer is there really is no loss of employees or customers. They really hold that in the value of the acquisition, and that is something that they really focus on going forward. How can we leverage the existing client base, the existing employees, and how can we grow and scale both of those to create more revenue for our business, as opposed to financial buyers that are working off what's called a 2 and 20 model, where they hold the business for 2 years, make 20% on the growth opportunity, and then ultimately they'll sell to a strategic buyer for the same reasons that we're bringing up today. So really, financial buyers buy low and sell high. Strategic buyers buy for a vision to continue to grow and build on the organization as they do through transition and ultimately acquisition. I've got a little build slide here, but ultimately what I want to focus on is how STS positions your company and your value of your business with several international strategic buyers. So when we look across the scale here, and I'm just going to build this out so you can get the big picture. On the left side, you see the entrepreneurs and the family-owned businesses, and the percentage of businesses in each geographic region across the globe are made up of companies like yourself, entrepreneurs, family-owned businesses, growing on their own and really doing a lot of grassroots to grow through that. They ultimately reach a point, and at any point through growth, where they actually run through what we call the 6 Ds: death, disease, disability, debt, and disenchantment. And some of you may be experiencing that today, but that's what causes an opportunity to look to go to market. Ultimately, finding the right buyer for your company that not only sees the value of your business, but sees the vision that you've created of where it can go is really where the rubber meets the road. You need a partner who can really identify the correct buyer and really go through that process of connecting the dots, if you will, so that the business, one, is paid what it's ultimately worth, if not more, but also that it has a succession plan going forward. Some operators may drop off, some operators may stay for a short period of time, and some may stay through a longer period of transition. But ultimately, it's keeping that business in place and helping it grow through the process. Now, when you looking at financial buyers actually have a checklist of things that they do to reduce costs as much as possible so that their annual income from owning the business increases on a year-over-year basis. Ultimately, they look to sell, right? And as I mentioned at the earlier slide, they are looking to sell to strategic buyers as well. So what STS ultimately focuses on is finding the right matches, not only finding the right company that's willing to pay the right amount of money, but finding the company that has the right fit for their employees and for their customers. And really, that is our goal. And that's why we leapfrog the financial buyers, go direct to the strategic buyers, and we create what we call an auction style environment amongst, on average, 5 to 8 strategic buyers are at the final table, and we push the spreadsheet game to the side, and the question is really posed to the buyer group: what happens if you do not buy this company? What happens if one of your competitors buys this company? Now they've put themselves in a position where they say to the advisor, STS Capital, we need to buy this company. What's it going to take? Now you've reached that upper echelon of, holy cow, I never thought my business would be worth that. That is what we call an extraordinary exit. And we get to that extraordinary exit by selling to the strategic buyers. So we like to talk about the process. A lot of people who are at this stage of learning more about exits don't understand the process as well as they probably should. So we spend a lot of time with our clients and prospects up front, and it's truly important to understand what the process looks like, because there's a lot of hurdles and gates that have to be overcome through the process. Ultimately, time kills all deals in M&A. The longer the process takes, the more questions are posed, and the bigger probability of not ultimately getting to an exit, at least an extraordinary exit, become harder and harder. So here at STS, we focus very much on the early stage of the process, really preparing a virtual data room and all the documentation and supporting information about your business prior to going to market, so that when we're in market, we are never slowing the process down. You could think about it like anything that you buy today. The longer the sales process takes, the less likely you are to acquire whatever it is you're looking at. And it's the same thing in the M&A world. So it's imperative that we set up the structure of what we're going to be presenting to the strategic buyers early and as thoroughly as possible, so that as we get in process, we never have to go back to create the wheel. So virtual data rooms are hugely important. Everything from a prospective buyer that needs to deliver interest to us about your business, and an interest is an offer for your business. We want them to be ready to go the minute that they see your business. So that first stage, that preparation stage, we spend a lot of time on, as well as that second stage where we talk about who are the strategic buyers who may be interested in my business. We'll walk through a couple of tools that I'll share with you today, and exercises that we do to walk our clients through to identify not just the well-known buyers, but the buyers on the outside too. Because at a minimum, those buyers that may be a one-off scenario, not people we think about every day who would acquire our business, can ultimately, one, be the buyer at the end of the day, but two, they can create leverage in the process. As I talked about the auction style environment, when we get to that final stage, the more people that are at the table at the same time can create higher multiples. And we've seen from 1.5 to 6.5 points higher than what the original offers were. So it's really imperative that we spend a lot of time identifying our outreach list, who we're going to contact and when we're going to contact, so that we align all the buyers offering their interests at the same time. Once we've completed those first two steps, we're ready to go to market. And we really spend a lot of time with investor outreach. And we do it at a very high touch level. So we come in at the executive level of the strategic buyer. We talk to them about the vision and the strategy of your business and what it means to that company for an acquisition, what the return on their investment potentially could be, how quickly they could get there, and how fast the company can grow with the right support system, the right sales team, the right geographic region, whatever the case may be. Once we get interest from them, they'll actually sign an NDA with STS, and we will provide them a detailed memorandum that's confidential. It's termed as SIM in the industry. That gives all of your financial information, your org structure, your client breakdown, your geographic location. That allows them to truly be in a position of understanding your business and the value to them. At that point is where we start receiving interest. Interest can come in two forms, IOIs and LOIs. IOIs are intent of interest, and LOIs are a formal letter of interest. And that will break down the offer. And at STS, we actually create a cost comparison sheet amongst all of the offers, and we break down not just the financial numbers, how much cash up front, how much carry, those types of things. We call that one side of the offer equation. The other side of the equation is the structure of the offer. And the structure of the offer can really be into details of things such as employment agreements, those contracts that continue forward, bonus structures, anything that's related to an earnout. If there is an option for an earnout, we will go through and negotiate all of those different opportunities that arise through the process. And then the final stage is really after we've selected the right party that we want to go into exclusivity and due diligence with, and ultimately that is you as the client make that decision on who's the best fit. That's where we move into due diligence and closing stages. At STS, we look at due diligence as a confirmation of what we've provided. It is not an opportunity for the buyer to come back at the final stage and say to us, oh, well, we really didn't run our numbers that well, and we want to retrade the offer. The closing stage and the final negotiation stages are all about leveraging the business to receive the highest dollar available for the business with the right structure, and then entering into the legal closing process. And so that's our process at a high level. But what we'd like to talk more about after I do that, the question is always posed, hey, Ron, how long does it take me to sell my company? Well, it's a varying situation. A lot of companies are about 6 to 9 months is on average, but we have closed businesses within 2.5 months. I actually had a client come to me who was already in market with one of our competing firms, was not getting strategic buyers to the table and interest like that. Although they had spent some time preparing their documentation to go to market, which assisted us in preparing them. Once we took them to market, the strategic buyers were ready and were very interested in the business. So we were successful in closing them that quick. But as we look through the process, we talked about the first couple of stages where we really need to spend time to make sure we're ready to go to market, make sure there's no delay in the process. That step and that stage usually takes about 2 months on average. So you can plan on preparing documentation for financials, preparing documentation about your clients, preparing information about your channels and your partners. all those things need to be ready to go and available through a virtual data room. So we'll spend a lot of time there. So you can see 1 to 2 months in that stage. Then we move into the third and fourth stage. And the fourth stage is really a variable. Once we're in market and we're getting interest, we can find different types of offers, different types of structures on the financial versus the structural side of those offers. And we'll be negotiating through that entire process. Ultimately, what we will do is show you the positives and negatives of every offer, compare them against each other. If we find a group, the 5 to 8 that we feel comfortable with, that's where we'll go into an auction style environment with them and really push for the best opportunity and the best value for your business. And then we'll move into the closing stage in the exclusivity period, which if run correctly and the business is prepared correctly, due diligence should be smooth and efficient and can run from 45 days to 65 days on average. Sometimes a buyer will outsource the due diligence process. When we see those, STS really steps in heavily at that stage, because now you've got a third party that's being paid to go through a process and spend more time than is really necessary to get the deal done. So we'll step in and we'll kind of hold their hand and spoon feed them all of the information that they need to do to complete their due diligence component. But on average, if you look at it, if you're preparing and you're thinking about an exit, something good to have in your mind is about 6 to 9 months to get through a solid process, find the right buyer, have a quality auction style environment, and really get through the due diligence and completion and closing of the business. When we talk about identifying strategic buyers, there's a multitude of different ways that we do that. I wanted to share some of the tools with you that we use at STS on identifying the strategic buyers. And ultimately, we'll create a very large list. Some of those lists may go to outreach. We may go ahead and reach out to them for interest. Some of them we may not. And there could be reasons because they're a direct competitor of yours, or you've done business with them in the past and it wasn't a great process that you had with them. So we'll put those folks on a do not call list. So we'll have a couple of different lists that we create. But if you start thinking about who could be a strategic buyer for you, if you look at your own business, you're surrounded by the supplier industry you're in, adjacent industries. It could be your customers or your channel partners that you use. And we'll go through a process of identifying those close-knit ones. As we start to work in a broader sense, we do a mind mapping exercise. And Daniel's been a part of one of these with one of our clients where we actually look at your business in the center. And I use a dartboard analogy here. We could probably list off within 10 minutes, 15 to 20 companies that are right in the bullseye of acquiring businesses that would want to acquire your company today. As you branch out to the outer edges of that dartboard and really go through a process of a half a day with my team and I and your team, and we're doing mind mapping and we're branching out, as you get to the outer edges, those are the types of companies that we may not realize could be the ultimate buyer for your business. But in reality, those are the companies that, one, definitely could be the ultimate buyer, but two, at a minimum, knowing that they're not in the sweet spot, will up their offer to get the deal done. So ultimately, there's a great opportunity to work through that and bring as many fish in the net, so to speak, so that we find the right buyer. So we start broad, and then we narrow our list as we get closer to finding the right outreach list. And we do it through a bunch of different tools. These are just a couple that we work with, where we're looking at the categories of suppliers and customers, competitors in the space, adjacent space, the types of companies, how much acquisitions they've been doing, where they've been doing them. And we actually create a model of the competitors along with the clients, along with the channel partners, We talk about the positives and negatives that potentially could arise through a process. And that leads us to what we really see within the market. So we can truly identify the buyers, the strategic buyers that have acquired companies, what they've paid for those companies, as Daniel mentioned, from a multiple of EBITDA, a multiple of revenue, and why did they really look at this opportunity as a return on investment? What is their interest? Why are they in the market looking to acquire these types of businesses? Strategic buyers have buying criteria, and they actually have teams of people that carry a quota to acquire a number of companies in a given year. So there is a little seasonality to the way that strategic buyers buy. Q1, first quarter, and fourth quarter of the year, they're very active. They're trying to spend their money early in the early part of the year, and they're trying to make sure that they've spent all their money at the end of the year. So it's really about understanding what are they doing, when are they doing it, and ultimately, what is their buying criteria? For example, in SaaS companies here in the US, strategic buyers really are interested in monthly recurring revenue that is over $5 million. That's a buying criteria. They usually have five points of buying criteria, and they usually change them on an annual basis. But actually, through COVID, we saw them change their buying criteria on a quarterly basis. So again, it's imperative to understand and put a filter on understanding the way strategic buyers buy and aligning your company with the way that the strategic buyers buy, ultimately positioning your company for an extraordinary exit. So once you're through that process, we really get to a stage where we have a key set of investors that we can target. And these are the folks that would sit in the bullseye, and then we branch out from there. But we've got our set of outreach that we're ready to go to. And this is truly where the value comes from. Your business is only worth what a acquiring company is willing to pay for it, but you have to be able to speak to those companies with the message of what does the value of your company, what does the Rembrandts in the attic mean to that acquiring business, and doing it at the executive level. The business development managers may not understand how acquiring XYZ company will help their business grow, but the executives do. The CEO of the acquiring company definitely knows what he's looking for, and that's who we speak to at that level once we've identified who our outreach list is. So again, we have direct access to a global network of investors, and that comes through all of the 25 managing directors across the globe, all the networks that we are in, all of the acquisitions that we've completed, all of the acquisitions are companies that we're looking to have an exit with today. And it really puts us at that senior level of those business organizations with strategic buyers. Sometimes we get the question, well, you guys may not be experts within my industry. Why shouldn't I go with an industry expert M&A advisor firm versus STS, who ultimately probably has that, but maybe we're talking, since I mentioned a SaaS company, let's stay on the software side. Why don't I stay with a software M&A advisor who truly understands that industry? Well, a lot of paradigms with it are in the industry, and those M&A advisors are held to that. They can't upset the apple cart because it'll affect their future opportunities. So if buying companies within the software industry, we're buying at a 4 to 6 times multiple, and then the advisor comes in and says, well, my client really wants an 11 times multiple on this business. Now they've ruined that relationship with that buyer. They can't go back to that buyer ever again because that buyer will say, oh, you're just looking to take it in the shorts for us. And ultimately, we don't want to do that. We're going to work with another company. At STS, we're industry agnostic. So we work across all industries, and we leverage the best practices of all those industries to really overachieve the expected value of your business. So with those 800 industry experts, with the managing directors across the globe, it really brings a global buyer universe to the table and positions the process as the key value driver to maximizing your business and creating an extraordinary exit. The process is what it's all about. And our process has proven that we exceed expectations. So we always get asked, well, what does my core team look like at STS? So it's made up of a number of different people, and these are the high-level individuals. There's teams underneath them. But it would be someone like myself who's managing the entire process, working with the client, working with the buyer organization, and working with my team to ensure that we live on our brand promise of extraordinary exits by selling to strategics. But we'll have a director on the team, and what a director is you can think of them as a CFO. They truly understand the financials of your business. They are able to describe it to the acquiring company or the interested party, and they are very good at being factual about what is real and what is not real, and what the acquiring company should view it as, not as a perception, but as a fact. A lot of times you will have buyers who will come to the table and try to play that spreadsheet game on the value of your business. And they'll go to our director, and our directors are CFOs that understand the numbers and are very clear in sharing that. We also have a project manager. We also have a whole operations team. And then I mentioned our whole outreach, our global outreach team that also includes research and development, understanding those companies that are active in the marketplace and truly identifying them from a global outreach. And then, of course, our executive team is involved through each and every pursuit that we do as well. So we have a couple of case studies that we're happy to share. I think I'd love to show this slide because it talks about the overperformance. When we talk about valuations and anticipated market values when companies go to market, you can see on the anticipated EBITDA multiple side what clients were expecting for their business. And then the next column is the multiple that they achieved by going through a process with STS Capital and selling to strategic buyers. That increase, as you can see on the right side, can go anywhere from 100 to over 400. So it's really these types of opportunities that deliver on our brand promise. And really that's what we look to do with each and every client that we work with. So we have a couple case studies. I'm happy to share those with Daniel so he can provide them out to you. But I think that there's one that we probably could talk about that's an existing client that was actually referred to us from Daniel. It's a company called Project Zap. It's a global company that's in Poland, and we actually brought a global buyer to the table. We had a great auction style environment, and our client was expecting a 4 to 6 times multiple on their business. After we ran a thorough process, we were fully prepared before we opened the door to go to market. We really looked at a global universe of buyers that gave us an outreach list of about 275 companies to look at. We received interest in the double digits for this business. And then we leveraged that interest against each one of them and really narrowed the list down to 3 companies that our client wanted to move forward with. Once we got to that level, we actually renegotiated with them one last time. And ultimately, our client was looking for a 4 to 6 times multiple. We'll be closing at a 19 times multiple on the business. So truly a success story, truly delivering on our brand promise, and truly finding the right strategic buyer that wanted the company. In fact, the buyer told me, Ron, I have to acquire this company. What is it going to take me? Because I'm using their business as a platform to build a brand new revenue stream out of. So this acquiring organization is a multi-billion-dollar organization that wanted our client as the foundation for a new revenue stream for them. So Daniel, I'll pause there and happy to dive into some Q&A with you and answer any questions that I can for you.
Awesome, Ron. I always love to learn from you, and I'm always impressed by what you guys are able to deliver, having such an expertise. And as you said, hey, we find so many opportunities, and we create this buying process and like a competition to get more companies to buy your company, that they up the price, and that's why you end up having the multiples you ever get. So thank you for that. Let me share some slides to go kind of how can we help them through the process, and then we'll come to the Q&A. If you allow me to share, I'm going to now share my screen for a couple of more slides, and then we'll go from there. Give me 1 second here. Te queremos invitar a que nos permitas ayudarte en este camino con proceso y asesores expertos en poder llegar a hacer una venta extraordinaria. Todo lo que les platicó Ron, te queremos ayudar, tenemos que entender cuáles son tus Rembrandts y luego desarrollar esos Rembrandts para poder maximizar la salida y sobre todo hacer una empresa que sea vendible. ¿Cómo hacemos una empresa que no dependa de ti para que la empresa pueda ser vendida? 1, para que la gente la quiera comprar, y 2, cuando la compras, no te obliguen a que te quedes 5 años o un cierto tiempo que te quedes operarla. La gente normalmente cuando quiere una compañía dice, oye, quiero un periodo de transición 1, máximo 2 años. Pero si la empresa depende de ti y de la operación de ti, pues el comprador te va a obligar de alguna forma que te quedes o que te quedes mucho tiempo. Entonces, le da una evaluación mayor a la empresa y les interesa más comprar una empresa que no depende del dueño, dueña, director o directora general para poder operar. Entonces, vamos a platicar un poco cómo te podemos ayudar a hacer esto. Están cambiando mis láminas. A ver. Ahora sí, perdón. Ok, entonces, beneficios de tener esta guía personalizada para poder preparar tu empresa y llevarla a, obviamente, a una venta exitosa, ¿no? Primero, conocer perfectamente opciones de venta. Oye, ¿quiénes son los compradores? Como pueden ver en el círculo de Ron, te dice, oye, vemos tu empresa de varios múltiplos de industrias, proveedores y demás, para ver cuál es el comprador estratégico perfecto. Luego, crear un plan estratégico claro de salida para poder llevar tu empresa. Cuando te ayudamos entendemos tu plan hoy, entendemos el plan del mercado, cuál es tu Rembrandt y demás, y te ayudamos a transicionar tu plan estratégico a eso. Luego, prepara tu equipo. Oye, ¿cómo preparo mi equipo para que mi equipo se quede creciendo el negocio una vez que lo venda y eso maximice la probabilidad de poder vender la empresa y obviamente maximice el valor de la empresa? Nadie quiere comprar una empresa que el día que lo compra se van todos los empleados y me quedo con un problema. Entonces, también es bien importante cómo preparas a tu equipo mentalmente y operativamente para que puedas vender tu compañía y obviamente maximizar el valor, ¿no? Entonces, para poder también trabajar con tu equipo, construir un plan de comunicación interno y externo en cómo venderla y luego cómo crear contacto con potenciales compradores, como platicamos, para tener opciones de venta. Obviamente, todo el proceso de negociación experta, lo que escucharon con Ron, es bien importante entender todos los pasos y cómo tienes que ir llevando esa comunicación y esa negociación con los compradores potenciales y sobre todo disfrutar el proceso. Es muy común que el proceso sea con mucho estrés y mucho drama. La gente dice, no me puedo venir de vacaciones, pues se va a caer el proceso. No te preocupes. Tienes un grupo de expertos que te van a acompañar en el proceso para poder ayudarte a disfrutar el proceso y que no pases un año malo. Mucha gente odia su proceso de venta porque es un proceso con mucho estrés y mucho drama. Lo hemos hecho tantas veces, el equipo de STIER lo ha hecho tantas veces, que te ayudamos a poder pasar un programa con mucho menos drama y por tanto puedes disfrutar del proceso. Y obviamente todo esto asesorado con asesores expertos en todas las áreas y herramientas y procesos probados para poderte llevar. Entonces, ¿para quién es este programa? Primero, empresas líderes que quieran generar un plan de salida, venta, fusión y demás hacia futuro, en los siguientes 3-5 años, digamos. Empresas que tengan una evaluación de al menos $10 millones de venta. La gente me dice, Daniel, no sé cuánto vale mi empresa, 10 millones. Si vendes alrededor de 8 o 10 millones para arriba, llámanos y quieres vender, con mucho gusto. Y aparte, la gente me dice, oye, Daniel, quiero vender en 3 años. Ahorita a lo mejor facturo 5 o 7 millones de dólares. Ayúdame a poder duplicar la venta en los siguientes 3-5 años para poder llegar a 10 o 12 o 15 millones de venta y luego vender en ese momento. Con mucho gusto podemos ayudar con eso. Y luego líderes empresariales que quieren maximizar la evaluación. Si tú me dices, Daniel, en mi industria me pagan el 5 veces EBITDA, 8 veces EBITDA, y estoy feliz vendiendo así una venta financiera, está bien. Si quieres maximizar el precio de salida y vender un estratégico, ven con nosotros, a eso nos dedicamos, lo hacemos de una forma única con el grupo de STS a nivel mundial, y entonces te ayudamos con todas las herramientas de Growth Institute, consultoría y demás, a poder mejorar tu empresa, mejorar tus números, mejorar tus KPIs, y luego con el equipo de STS llegar a mercado. Entonces, déjame explicarte este programa que le llamamos 36 meses a éxito, 36 months to exit. Es un programa integral para poder preparar tu empresa para llevarla a una venta exitosa y extraordinaria con el precio. Entonces, tiene 3 puntos principales. Primero, preparar tu empresa. Es un proceso que nosotros decimos, oye, 36 meses, pues si tu empresa está lista en 1 año o en 2 años, la llevamos al mercado antes. Vamos a poner unos ciertos KPIs cuando empecemos, de decir, oye, quiero llevar mi empresa al mercado cuando tengamos $2 millones de EBITDA o cuando tengamos esto de ventas o hayamos llegado a este cliente estratégico. Vamos a poner unos milestones, unos objetivos para llevar al mercado, y si están en 1 año o en 2 años, lo llevamos antes. Nosotros le llamamos 36 meses porque es lo que hemos visto que es lo normal y el proceso de realmente ser un cambio significativo en tu empresa para poder llevarla al mercado. Pero identificar los reemplazos del látigo, muy importante. En este proceso de preparación, te ayudamos a identificar cuáles son los Rembrandts y luego validar esta estrategia 3-5 años con compradores. Trabajamos contigo para encontrar tus Rembrandts y se las mandamos al equipo de STS Capital. Generan un documento de un par de hojas, sin nombre, obviamente, y van al mercado diciendo, oye, tengo una empresa líder mexicana, colombiana, chilena o lo que sea, y tiene estas características, ¿te interesa sí o no? Oye, ¿cuánto serás dispuesto a pagar? Y empiezan a platicar y entender cuáles son estos Rembrandts en el ático. Y STS regresa con nosotros y dice, a ver, Daniel y equipo, ya entendimos que los mejores compradores pueden ser estos, están dispuestos a pagar hasta X cantidad de veces EBITDA o esta evaluación, y este es el Rembrandt del ático, esto es lo que les interesa. Si puedes mejorar eso, si puedes duplicar esa área del negocio o puedes duplicar esta cosa estratégica, va a valer más tu empresa. Tienes 2-3 años o el tiempo que quieras para prepararla. Y así validamos la estrategia con el mercado y aseguramos que el mercado te vaya a pagar lo que estás esperando por tu empresa. Es muy, muy importante entender lo que el mercado quiere y las variaciones del mercado para poderla preparar. ¿Podemos salir al mercado inmediatamente? Sí, podemos salir al mercado inmediatamente. Pero mucha gente me dice, Daniel, quiero esta evaluación o quiero estos KPIs de resultado. Y le digo, ok, para eso tienes que mejorar ventas 20% o tienes que mejorar las ganancias en tanto. Y hacemos un plan y te ayudamos a llevar eso mientras vamos preparando al equipo. Obviamente, eficienciar la operación con Scaling Up y todos los programas que tenemos en Growth Institute para que puedas maximizar la venta en base a maximizar o eficientizar la operación de tu empresa. Obviamente, escalabilidad de procesos clave. Si entendemos que hay un cierto proceso clave, que es tu Rembrandt del ático, ¿cómo maximizamos y eficientizamos la escalabilidad de ese proceso para que el comprador la compre y diga, oye, la puedo duplicar o triplicar porque el proceso es muy eficiente y por lo tanto te paguen más? Obviamente, prepara el equipo de liderazgo. ¿Cómo le vas a hacer para preparar a tu equipo a que tu equipo opere tu empresa sin que tú estés? Como ejemplo, muchos compradores me dicen, oye, quiero ver que el dueño o dueña o director o directora se puede ir de vacaciones 2 semanas y la empresa no se caiga. Vamos a trabajar con el equipo para que tengan claridad, las KPIs correctos, sepan qué decisiones tomar, un organigrama que funcione, para que te puedas ir de vacaciones 2 semanas y que el comprador vea que no le pasa nada a tu empresa. Y para eso hay que preparar al equipo de liderazgo. Obviamente, mejorar los KPIs financieros clave para poder maximizar tu precio de evaluación y, como lo hemos platicado, sobre todo, disfrutar el proceso. Somos expertos en acompañamiento, en preparar empresas para una venta, y te vamos llevando de la mano haciendo todo esto para que puedas obviamente venderla a una mayor evaluación y obviamente disfrutar el proceso. Entonces somos la única alianza que ofrece la formación, educación, preparación del equipo, KPIs y demás, y el proceso de venta internacional junto con STS. 2, te damos todo tipo de programas de educación en línea para ti y para tu equipo, porque queremos mejorar los procesos. Tenemos clases para mejorar procesos de ventas, de operación, de servicio al cliente, de negociación, de operación, cómo contratar mejor, cómo correr gente, cómo llevar mejores juntas, tableros, KPIs y demás, y te ayudamos con toda la librería del Growth Institute, todos los cursos que tenemos en Growth Institute, incluidos dentro del proceso, para poder llevar a tu equipo y mejorar todos los temas y procesos para que puedas llegar tu empresa a vender. Y esto nos pasa cada rato. Muchos clientes que han vendido me dicen, ya que están en el proceso de venta o ya vendieron, me dice, Daniel, y es impresionante, la gente me dice, te compré porque me gustó mucho lo que haces, o me gustó tu cartera de clientes, o me gustó esto, pero realmente porque me impresioné, que eres una empresa mucho más chica que la mía y operas mucho mejor que la mía, eres mucho más eficiente. Y si puedo llevar tus eficiencias de operación al resto de mi compañía, le voy a sacar un precio adicional muy grande. Esto nos pasó con Alex Leiva, un cliente de nosotros, que vendió su empresa, duplicó ventas, triplicó rentabilidad en 2 o 3 años, creo que fue, después de haber tomado la MBD, y obviamente vendió la empresa por un múltiplo y la vendió por $25 millones. Y me dijo, Daniel, cuando me compraron, no sabes la cantidad de veces que me dijeron, estamos impresionados de tu capacidad de ejecución y tu eficiencia de operación, y por eso nos llamaste mucho la atención. Había otras empresas en el mercado que hacen algo similar que tú, pero tú demostraste una cierta ejecución que nos llamó mucho la atención, y eso lo hacemos a través de esta cantidad de cursos para llevar a tu equipo en el proceso, para mejorar el equipo, eficientizar tu operación y obviamente maximizar el precio y la probabilidad de la venta. Entonces, en este curso te damos contenido de primer nivel, enseñado directamente a los mejores autores de libros de negocios del mundo, personalización y caminos de aprendizaje para todo tu equipo. Decimos, a ver, todos los vendedores toman este curso, todos los de operaciones toman este curso, todos los del equipo de contabilidad toman este curso. Los vamos llevando y diseñando cuáles son los cursos y metodologías que tienen que ir tomando para llevar su operación al siguiente nivel. Obviamente, muchas herramientas enfocadas a que puedas implementar. Nosotros en Growth Institute creemos que si te enseñamos algo y no lo implementaste, es problema de nosotros. Te tenemos que dar la guía y el soporte para que lo puedas llevar a implementar. Y obviamente con una comunidad exclusiva de líderes empresariales de toda Latinoamérica y España, donde estamos ayudando constantemente a poder implementar. Entonces nosotros decimos, aprende con los mejores y aprende con los mejores, ¿no? Aprendes de los mejores autores, pero también con los mejores ejecutivos de nivel de Latinoamérica y España, para que puedas aprender también de ellos e implementar mejoras en tu compañía. Y luego, herramientas probadas. Tenemos muchas herramientas como STS, ya te enseñó algunas herramientas que usan para maximizar la evaluación, y Growth Institute, y te vamos llevando implementando las mejores herramientas de negocios con el objetivo de pasar un proceso con herramientas probadas, hacer el proceso más eficiente y obviamente reducir el drama para que lo puedas disfrutar. Y todas estas herramientas te van a llevar a que tu empresa opere más eficientemente. Y obviamente, guía especializada con diferentes expertos en áreas. Tenemos áreas en todos los expertos. Aquí estoy en una fotografía con Bernd Harnisch, el autor de Scaling Up, y Salim Ismail, el primer director ejecutivo de Singularity. Sí, Salim viene mucho a dar clases con nosotros. Ahí estamos en un evento en la Ciudad de México hace unos años. Y lo que hacemos es, oye, ¿cuál es lo que necesita tu empresa? ¿Cuál es la metodología, el autor, la constancia? Y te ayudamos con estas herramientas para que puedas llevar tu empresa al siguiente nivel. Entonces, guía especializada con diferentes expertos en las áreas que necesites, procesos y herramientas probadas y obviamente experiencia, haber guiado a más de 1,000 empresas por el proceso de venta exitoso con el grupo de STS Capital. De hecho, un caso de éxito de STS Capital, y John es un muy amigo mío. De hecho, John me presentó a Ron y al equipo de STS Capital. Él es el fundador de Apple Tree Answers y usó la metodología de STS y 36 meses para salir, y vendió en 14 veces EBITDA. En su industria, que era call centers, se vendían en promedio en 3 hasta 4 veces EBITDA. Él vendió a 14 veces EBITDA porque su empresa operaba mucho más eficiente que los competidores y corrió un proceso de venta muy eficiente. Y por eso dio los resultados que dio John, y por eso lo evaluaron 14 veces EBITDA en vez de 3 veces EBITDA. Entonces, si es el programa que necesitas y quieres para ti, aquí hay más información de este programa. Puedes también escanear y te vamos a poner, vamos a pedir una llamada. Te queremos conocer, queremos saber quién eres, queremos entender tu empresa para ver si eres la empresa correcta o estás en el proceso correcto o es el momento correcto para ti por llevar. Si es el momento correcto ahorita, no te preocupes, te ayudamos a encontrar cuáles son las 2 o 3 cosas que tienes que hacer para tener el momento correcto para ir a vender y luego llegar a vender. Pero no te preocupes, aplica, mándanos información, te queremos conocer, queremos tener alguna llamada contigo para saber de ti, conocer tu empresa, ver qué quieres hacer y poderte guiar en el mejor proceso para que lleves tu empresa a una venta exitosa. Bueno, vamos a entrar a preguntas y respuestas. And Ron, I have some questions. So most of the questions are to you about the process. These are the questions that we usually get, the frequent asked questions. And there's a couple that I will try to answer on the process. So the first one, how confidential should my exit plan be with my team, family, and all that? How do you run with confidentiality in the process?
Yeah, great question, Daniel. And at the end of the day, it's a really tough question because business owners normally are pretty open and want to share with their team, what's going on, what's the organization looking like that's acquiring us, all that kind of stuff. There's a lot of questions that can be built up when a process is run. Our advice to our clients is keep it to the team, the management team, the people that understand the business and the vision and the strategy and are managing the business in that sense. Ultimately, the best is to keep it between the CEO and the CFO of the company. At different stages through the process, we can open that up to other key individuals, especially when you get to due diligence. But understand that due diligence does not occur until you've accepted an offer. So as you're entering market, as you're preparing for market, as you're in market, trying to create interest, it's imperative that you don't really share too much at that stage because humans are emotional and the fear of the unknown can occur and you potentially could lose some key employees or create a cause for concern that is unnecessary. At the end of the day, you may not sell the company. So you don't want to lose one of your most valuable assets of your employees at the end of the day. So our advice is keep it confidential as long as you can. If you engage with STS, we will coach you on that, who's appropriate to share what information with at what period of time.
Perfect. Thank you. In which stage of growth is the best to sell my company? When's the right moment?
That's a great that's a great question, and a lot of it is based on timing to the two sides of the equation that I talked about, right? So if we got our blinders on and we're running our business, we're looking at revenue numbers, we're looking at gross profits, the EBITDAs, and I was guilty of this myself. I had my blinders on about my business, but the other side of it too that we have to take into account of the timing of going to market is what is the market doing? What are the buyers doing? Are the buyers active? Are the buyers paying at a higher multiple? Are they taking time off from the market? Those things need to come into play too. So really from a growth stage, I would say that, when you're positive in your cash flow and your EBITDA numbers become healthy, that's a really good time to look at it because when you're in market, buyers will look to buy companies that are not at their healthiest stage and buy them low so that they can grow them and sell them, at the other end at a higher price if it's a financial buyer, for example. So it's really a fine tuning between both sides of the equation of having a healthy financial business and the market being at a healthy position where buyers are paying healthy numbers as well.
Perfect. And guys, we always said that if we're in the process of helping you to prepare your company in those 36 months or 24 months, whatever the time is, we're always going to be in contact with STS. STS is going to have a look at your business every couple of months, every 3 months, and it's going to tell us, hey, this is what's happening on the market, on your industry, and it's going to help us determine what's the best time. And they're probably going to say, hey, today the market has really big valuation, or there's someone doing an acquisition around your industry. This is the right time. And they will recommend that moment to be able to maximize your exit. Then this is regarding timing. With which amount of anticipated time do I need to reach you to build my exit plan? Like, how long do you think they should prepare? And you mentioned that your process around 8 to 9 months average. Tell us about timing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so great question here as well. And I'll just state a fact that we work with clients that are looking to go to market in the next 3 months, all the way out to 3 years. So we work with clients at any stage in their growth and when they're looking to go to market. And what we do is, as I described in the presentation, is we understand what the buyer's buying criteria is, and then we roll that back into your growth strategies and have you be aware of the way that strategic buyers are buying and aligning your business with that. That can take, 3 months to prepare you to get ready to maybe clean up some things within your business, or maybe you're at a growth stage and you're trying to make a decision of, do I add new executives to my team? Do I open a new geographic location for my business? Do I offer a new product or service? Or it could be as simple as, do we need more salespeople? Do we need more support people? Those types of decisions as you're growing can make a very big impact, positive or negative, when you enter the market. So we're happy to help at any stage and really give guidance on, the way that strategic buyers buy can lend you to adding some information to your ultimate decision that you're looking to make at that point in time. But again, Daniel, anywhere from 3 months to 3 years, we're super happy to engage.
Perfect. What are the factors that are taken into consideration during the valuation of a company? What are like the 3 to 5 factors that will impact that valuation the most?
Yeah, obviously, I mentioned this multiple times, but I think something that maybe the audience doesn't really have an ear to is, what is the market doing? We have a lot of clients come to us and say, hey, we're going to build this new revenue stream, this new product that has all this service. We're going to add resources to it. It's going to take us 3 years. We think it's going to add another 10 million in revenue to us with another 10, 15% to the bottom line. And our valuation should be X at that point in time. Well, what happens if the market dips 2 points? Now you've gone through that entire process and the value of your company is actually worth less than what you did at that point in time. So market is number one to include. It may be 1A, 1B as I go through these, but let's not forget about the market. It's something that I think a lot of entrepreneurs overlook when they're valuing their business. Secondly, and it can come in any industry, but it's really the stickiness of the client and the stickiness of the revenue. When you look at a business, whether it has recurring revenue or it doesn't, what are the relationships with the client? Is there committed revenue coming in the door? If you can create a committed revenue stream for your business, the interested buyers will value that higher than a 1x multiple versus just a service offering where it's a one-time sale. You may get 1x that, you may get 0.5% of that revenue. So that's the second one, is the quality of your revenue. Going through a quality of earnings exercise is always a good practice to do, to truly understand what your revenue looks like, where it's coming from, what are the buckets, what's committed, what's not committed, what could be at risk, what clients do you have that could be, maybe looking to go to one of your competitors or leave your organization in general. So I would say understanding your revenue and understanding that, most importantly, when you go to market, that is the number one piece of advice that I give to every one of our clients, is you have to keep growing revenue through the process. The minute that revenue drops when you're in process, in market, that's where a buyer can come and try to renegotiate the offer. So it's really important to have a growth within your revenue stream, and definitely having an EBITDA stream that's following that. But EBITDA can go up and down based on reinvesting into the company and different practices. So I would say 1 is market, 1A is revenue and the type of revenue and how that grows. And I would say the third one is really the way that your employees and your customers are valued. That is something that the buying company, the acquiring business, is looking to acquire on top of the revenue, on top of the growth opportunity. They may be looking for the example that I gave about Project Zap. That is an organization that's going to be a platform for a new revenue stream. All of those employees are hugely valuable. all of those clients are hugely valuable. So customer satisfaction, employee satisfaction is a key measuring stick for how you're doing within those different buckets. But yeah, I would say collectively all three, but 1A, and 1B on those, Daniel.
Perfect. Thank you for that. Can you help me in case I'm interested in buying a company, not selling? Can you help me there, and what do you recommend?
Yeah, we actually, so we publish a quarterly deal summary of the clients that we have in market today. We also produce a, soon to be coming to market list of opportunities that we'll be presenting within the market. But if none of those companies really fit, we can assist a client that's looking to maybe do a roll-up strategy, maybe adding a number of different clients, or maybe it's a specific type of company within a specific type of industry. But truly understand, Daniel, that we represent sellers. That is our bailiwick. That's what we really live for. But being in the space, there are opportunities where we work with buyers that, see a listing from our company and our summary, and they want to acquire that business. So we'll work with them on that. But it also could be a client that's more in that 3-year tail where they're looking to go to market and they want to make a couple of acquisitions, whether it be for customers, or maybe it's for some software, or maybe it's for a protected IP or a process, something that's going to add value for them when we get them ready to go to market. So that's where we play a lot. As our companies are growing, our clients are growing and preparing to go to market, and they look to acquire a couple of businesses along the way, that's the sweet spot for us.
What are the key factors to consider in an exit strategy? When is the right moment? And what do you consider for that?
Yeah, I think it's really about being prepared. I find a lot of different companies that come to us and they've realized that they're ready to go to market at that point, but they haven't spent the time to really think through the things that we've discussed today, right? The market, the strategic buyers, what's their Rembrandt in the attic. All those kind of things really come into play around key factors. And it's truly being organized and really thinking through it. So my best advice, or the answer to this question, the key factor to consider is who's going to represent you. Do you have someone that understands the potential value of your company, understands where that Rembrandt is and the value of that Rembrandt? Someone who's going to work on your behalf to find the right buyer and maximize the value of the company at the end of the day. There's a lot of transaction-oriented M&A advisors out there that are just looking to close your deal and move to the next one and don't care what you do with your time or your money post-close. It's really imperative to have a partner that's willing to sit side by side, because you're kind of married through this process as you go down it. So they understand the challenges of your business, they understand the strengths of your business, but they understand how to position your company correctly to the strategic buyer. So I think when you look at all the factors around financials, around ensuring your clients are under, quality agreements, current agreements, those are the things that we can help clients prepare with. So there's multiple at the end of the day, but I think it's truly just having what I call a trusted advisor network is very key to being successful through this process. Now, having a valued coach like Daniel is integral to having trusted advisors. Having a M&A advisor as part of that is key. But also you have to have individuals within the rest of that network that are, a CPA, a tax accountant person, someone who knows the tax side. Also, individuals from the legal side. So you may have a great lawyer that you've been working with over the past couple of years, but do you have a business transaction lawyer that you have a relationship with that can be ready to work with you? Those are key factors that a lot of entrepreneurs aren't ready for when they come to us. So we have to help them a little bit at that point.
Perfect. So what are the, let's say, 3 advantages of having an intermediary or an expert on selling and not going through the process myself or any company on their own? What are the top 3 advantages of going through the process with you?
Yeah, they're going to be able to maximize the value of your company. It's a full-time job, and you as a client, running your own business is a full-time job. So are you going to have the ability to duplicate yourself and start off and working with organizations that are out to lowball you at the end of the day? So I think that's one. I think 2 is you may ultimately, as we discussed, buyers buy and offer different types of structures and financial agreements and things like that, where they may ask you to ride off in the sunset post-close and you're good to leave. You may be there for a transition period, which could be 12 to 18 months. You could be there in a longer period of time where you have a second bite of the apple opportunity and you actually get to grow that business that you sold to that acquiring company. But ultimately, all 3 of those different situations, you're put into a position where, you really need to understand how the process works and be good at running the process and have the ability to say, no, and negotiate on your best behalf. And when you look to do that yourself, you're ultimately negotiating with your future boss. So you've created kind of a hostile environment through the negotiation. And now you have to go work for this individual that, maybe that process didn't go so well and he's not real happy about it at the end of the day. We always tell our clients, let us be the bad guys, you guys be the good guys, and we'll negotiate everything on your behalf. So when you look at it, I've done it myself, Daniel. I've been through that process. The result, I left 7 figures on the table. I didn't get the best opportunity, and my employees didn't get the best opportunity out of that process that I ran. And not to mention, my revenue dropped because guess what I was focused on? I was not focused on my business. I was focused on trying to sell it.
Interesting. All right. Any idea of taxes associated with selling the company? If it's a U.S. company, do you know the taxes and all that? And what if it's an international company?
Yeah, there's a lot to that, especially on the international side, right? So the company that we had mentioned, that's a Poland company being acquired by a Brazilian company. There's impacts across the board on that. And that is one of those trusted advisors, is having a tax person on your team. Now, STS is very well versed in that, and we can provide coaching and give, best pass, but we always encourage to have someone on their trusted advisor circle who understands the tax. But here in the US, there are various different ways on how you construct the sale. So it can be done in multiple different ways. There are tax advantages short-term and tax advantages long-term that can come into play. And so truly being aware of how you're positioning your company, whether it be an S Corp, a C Corp, an LLC, all those kind of things can have tax implications. So there is a lot that we can spend with, prospective clients and talking them through that, but we also encourage them to spend some time with their trusted advisor on that side too, because a lot can be saved prior to going to market that ultimately, once you close, capital gains in the United States, for example, can take a big hit out of your windfall at the end of the day. So there's certain things that you can put in place prior to the event occurring to reduce that tax input.
Awesome. And last question, how do you find the buyers? What's the STS Capital advantage to find buyers?
Yeah, it's our global network that we have. It's the relationships that the 25 managing directors have. It's the networks that we've been a part of for over 30 years. It's the research team that we have that speaks to the buyers on a day-to-day basis to truly understand what their buying criteria is, what they're looking for within market, and what types of companies they're looking for, and geographically, where are they located? There's a lot that goes into that. So, helping you find a buyer, We talked about the mind mapping process, the half-a-day event. We spend a lot of time on developing our outreach list and ensuring that every company that is on that outreach list is a quality opportunity for an acquisition of our client's company.
Perfect. All right. So Ron, thank you very much for all the information. You really gave us a lot of data, and we could know the depth of knowledge that you have on issues. So thank you for that. I'm just going to go to Spanish again to say goodbye and where to get the information. Any last words before we go back to Spanish?
No, I just really appreciate the opportunity to speak with all of you. And Daniel, thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. And if there's anything whatsoever that myself or the team at STS can assist you or your clients in, please do not hesitate to reach out to us.
Perfect. Bueno, entonces, el que quiera información del programa, aquí va a haber más información en el bit.ly /months/Spanish. Ahí va a haber información de este programa y contáctanos, aplica. Ahí hay información donde puedes dar tu información. Queremos platicar contigo, inmediatamente te vamos a solicitar una llamada telefónica. Queremos conocerte, queremos conocer tu compañía, dónde estás, qué están pensando, para cuándo quieres salir, más o menos entender qué cambios existen en tu empresa, qué mejoras, qué KPIs tienes que hacer para poder llevar tu empresa al siguiente nivel. Te queremos ayudar, poner un plan con eso, sobre todo ir a validar la estrategia con STS. Eso es bien, bien importante, poder entender ya que empezamos a trabajar, qué es lo que realmente está comprando en el mercado y cómo están las valoraciones del mercado hoy, para que te puedas dar una idea de lo que estás haciendo y tu estrategia a los siguientes 3, 5 años o el tiempo que quieras llegar a vender, sea correcta y te vaya a llevar a la evaluación y a los términos de venta que estás buscando. Bueno, muchísimas gracias. Me despido, Daniel Marcos, CEO de Growth Institute. Espero que les haya gustado, espero que hayan aprendido mucho. Y por favor, aplica, mándanos tu información. Si das la información, no te cuesta nada, no hay nada para nosotros. Queremos conocerte, queremos platicar contigo, entender dónde estás, dónde está tu empresa y en base a eso poderte dar una recomendación de cuál es el mejor momento para ir a una venta y cómo te podemos ayudar con este proceso de preparar tu empresa y luego ir al mercado a vender y tener una venta estratégica y por lo tanto maximizar los términos de la salida. Muchísimas gracias. Les mando un abrazo. Que pase una buena tarde. Gracias. Bye.